keep it here. There's no clip for this.
You don't need a clip. Just put it through your shirt.
Sorry. I don't fit anything. It's little
We'll get it through.
bigger.
Let's try it.
You can try with this. This actually, this is shorter one, this is a bigger one.
I have to, well, it's too complicated. Okay. Let's, why don't we put it by the speaker.
Okay.
Does it go long enough? Or just put it in front of the speaker. Do we have all the mantras, like, easily accessible? Where we can all see all the mantras? Do we have any? All in one place where you could chant?
No, I don't have a slide as such.
Okay, I'm going to chant all the mantras. Let me bring it up on the database. If you have database on your phone or you have them memorized, then we can chant together while we're waiting for everyone. Can't even find it on the database.
It's not version.
Isopanisad.
It says ISO.
Says ISO on the content list.
Or you can just type the sloka itself. F2, keyboard. Documents. The mouse.
This is very awkward, isn't it?
Okay, I'll get it done tomorrow morning. It's like this one. That's I was thinking the chant from the book itself.
Yeah. We have the book?
Yeah, we have a book. Almost everyone has it.
You have one for me? We're going to chant Isopanisad. You all have books? We'll chant the mantras. We'll begin.
It's difficult to shift to the books actually to search the mantras. I have the Veda base actually.
So we'll chant together.
Is this fine?
All in one place. I'll go this way because
Okay, because to shift the pages is a bit complicated.
everybody has to do it. So I'll do it with everybody.
Also.
So in your book on page 13, the invocation begins. So we'll just chant together. If that's okay. And then we'll begin. Go to page 13, and then we'll have to navigate through the pages to get to the next mantras. We'll just read the Sanskrit. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasisyate Ishavashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena punjitaha Magridaha kasya siddhanam. Purvanevaha karmani jijivishekshtam samaha Vam tvainan yate tosti na karma lipyate nare Asurya namate loka adhena tamasabhataha tamste pritya viduschanti eke chatra hanojanaha anejarikam manaso jhapiyo nayana deva apnuvam purvam ashat tathavata jnanatyati tishtat tasminapo matarishvatadhati Tadejati tannajati tadure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya taru sarvasya savayutaha Yastu sarvani bhutani atmaneva krishyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tatona vijagupsate Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaya bhuvijanataha tattako mahaka shoka ekatvam manupasyataha Sapare chakshukam akayama vranam ashnaviram shudam apapa vidham tadir manishi paribu shvayambur Yathati yathoritam yadatascha shaktibhya samabhyaha Andham tamaha pravishanti ye vidyam upasyate Tatabhuya ivate tamo yahu vidyayam rataha Anya eva hor vidyaya, anyada hor vidyaya, iti sushomadhiranam, yenastad vijachakshire. Vidyam cha yastad vido bhayam saha, vidyayamritam tirtha, vidyayamritamashmute. Antam tamaha pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tatabhuya ivate tamo yahu sambhutam mataha bhutyam mataha anyadevahur sambhavat anyadahur sambhavat iti shushumadhiranam yenastad vijachakshire sambhutim cha vinasam cha yastad viro vayam saha vinasena mritam tirtva sambhutam mritamashmute Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukam tattam punsam apavenu satyadharmaya drishtaye Punjame karshiyamasuya prajapatya vyuharasmin samahateja yate rupam kayantam tamaha Tate pashyami yosavaso purushasoham ashmi Vayuranilam amritam adhedam bashmantam shariram Om krito smara kritam smara krito smara kritam smara. Ah. Hare Krishna. Put over there.
It's
Too loud?
Echo is coming. This better.
Okay. Agdenaya suputaraya ashma vishwani deva vayunani vidvan yorashmin juhranamena uishtam tenam uktim vidhema. Hare Krishna. So, we're gathered here to do the impossible, to adequately cover this in 1 week, 2 hours a day. The best that I can do is highlight the main points. And as we all already are familiar with the Bhagavatam, the Isopanisad is just a very basic study, specifically for those who are bewildered by the Vedas, don't know the actual Siddhanta, Vedanta. So Isopanisad is especially useful for them, especially useful for the impersonalists, and useful for us in establishing basic principles of our philosophy. It's also a very good book to distribute to the public. So we have a PowerPoint, and the quickest way for us to cover the material, I don't think we have time. Have you all, in theory, you've all read it, the Isopanisad? Is that theory true, or is it just a theory? How many of you have read it all? How many of you have not read it all? Yeah, so your homework tonight is to read it all. Because I don't want to take time reading it, because we have so little time. I want to take time discussing what you should have read. So we're going to begin with a slide. I don't know if you can see any slides. Can I see them? I can't see them. What is it? Just now coming? Okay, so we're going to begin with the introduction. Okay, and I'm going to go very fast. We have to cover, in theory, we're supposed to cover the introduction in 3 verses today. In 3 verses every day. Is that correct? We're going 6 days? 3 verses a day. So, we're going to do, in theory, lesson 1, 2, and 3. That's why I said, yeah. Lesson 1, 2, 3. No, all right. No, I'm going to do more lessons. I'm going to get this all done in 3 days. Hare Krishna. So this is the introduction. So in the introduction, Prabhupada talks about how you understand something, and he lists 3 ways, which you may be familiar with. Pratyaksha, what you see; Anuman, what you speculate about; and Shabda, what you hear from authority. And so, what's the point Prabhupada's making? That Shastra is heard from a transcendental place, but we understand has its limitations. So these are 3 things you're supposed to learn for your Bhakti Sastri. You're going to get tested on this?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as I know, this is going to be a question on the test. If I were giving a test, this would be a question. Pramana means proof, and Shabda means to hear. Hear from authority. And Vedas are called Shruti, that which is heard. So it doesn't mean your direct sense perception is always false. It just means it's not perfect. Because sometimes you see something, but it's not the way you see it, right? What example Prabhupada gives? The sun. You see the sun. It's not as big as you see it. It's bigger than you see it. And so, it doesn't mean to say that everything you see or every hypothesis you make is wrong. It just means you can't understand transcendence because the mind is material. And I think we know this well. And so Shabda means we're hearing from an infallible source, a transcendental source. I think the obvious point is if you're learning about something transcendental, you have to learn about it from someone who's transcendental. Because sometimes people would ask Prabhupada about the nature of the spiritual world and he couldn't answer it because our mind and senses couldn't understand or perceive it. It has nothing to do with the 3 modes of nature. And so our experience is the 3 modes of nature. So Shabda is coming from a higher source, a source which is not influenced by limitations of the material mind and senses. And so it's a infallible source. And Anuman and Pratyaksha is not infallible. It doesn't mean it's never true, but if you're a scientist, you know, and you've studied history of scientists, what's the new theory? What's the latest theory that's disproven previous theories or sheds some shadows on previous theories? That's hypothesis. That's always going on. History of science is like that. And they do discover things which are true, gravity and so forth. So you know the example of the elephant, right? The blind man touching the elephant. So that's direct perception, and they all have a different idea, but they don't understand the elephant. They have to hear. Someone has to tell them. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo vidu, Bhagavad Gita 4:2. So we understand this principle. Without the cyclic succession, then you can only rely on the other 2 pramanas. And so the first item of knowledge, and also in Bhagavad Gita when it said to approach a spiritual master, submissiveness, humility. The first item of knowledge is to become humble, then you can hear, because if you're not humble, you will doubt what you're hearing. And some things you'll hear won't make sense because they're not material. So humility is required, otherwise you may doubt the authority of what you're hearing because it may not seem logical from the material perspective, or it may not be provable materially, and then you can doubt it. So when you accept the spiritual master, then when he says the rope is a snake, even though it seems like a rope, you accept it's a snake, or he says the snake is a rope. That example is given. At that point, we're no longer relying on our direct experience or hypothesis, but now we're relying on what the spiritual master gives us. So this is, in the introduction, these are the points Prabhupada's making because he's introducing Isopanisad. And especially he's introducing this to non-devotees who would doubt the authenticity of it. So he's establishing the position of the Vedas. The Siksha Guru gives spiritual instruction and inspiration on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara. This is from the GBC. The Diksha Guru gives spiritual instruction, inspiration, formal initiation, the spiritual name, and later imparts the sacred Gayatri mantras to a qualified disciple. To Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara. I didn't make this slideshow, but I have to try to understand why he put this there. This is a statement, I think, which was made by the GBC to exalt the position of the Siksha Guru, or show that the Siksha Guru is also delivering transcendental knowledge, as is the Diksha Guru. To not just think when we say Guru, we only mean Diksha Guru. Everyone, Krishna is the Guru, everyone who represents Krishna is the Guru. As you represent Krishna, you represent transcendental knowledge, which you've heard. Just like Prabhupada said, quoting from Chaitanya Charitamrita, everyone should become a guru. All of you should become guru. So then you think, well, I can't become a guru. What does it mean we should all become guru? It means whatever you heard, you should repeat. And the example was the postman. He's delivering. So he may not be this, he may not be that, but if he can deliver what he's heard, he can become guru. That's what it means to be guru. When I became a devotee, I knew nothing of the Vedas. I only knew what I heard from Prabhupada, and whatever I heard from Prabhupada I would repeat. When I was 19, I knew a few things. I would go out, meet people, I would go to university, give classes, and I would repeat what I heard. And so even as a brand new devotee, I was acting as guru. And guru means one who knows more than you. So I knew more than the students. I knew I wasn't the body, they didn't know that. So that's what it means. So you are not perfect, but if you repeat what's perfect, then what you're repeating is perfect, and that's your perfection. One time, a devotee was chanting, Prabhupada said, chant on the initiate's beads, too many beads. And the devotee said, but I'm not pure. How can I chant on the initiate's beads? And Prabhupada said, because my order is pure. And if you follow my order, then your chanting is pure. So there's this concept of purity that transcends our own individual purity. This is the purity of the message and the purity of the activity. And because I'm following the order, then I'll be successful. Just like you may go to an investing seminar and you know nothing about investing. And they give you some ideas and tips and say, if you just do this, you just do what I'm doing. Because over the years I've invested successfully. So you follow what I'm doing. So you don't know anything, but you follow this person, and then every year you get 15-20%. And people think, well, that's amazing. You're getting 15-20% on your investment. Whether the economy is going up and down, you must be a genius. And no, I don't know anything about investing. I just follow what he does. So it's something like that. I don't know anything, but I know what my guru has said. I've learned that. I know what's in the Vedas. I know what the sadhus say, and I repeat that. So that's the idea. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one must approach the word compulsory. What? I think Prabhupada means guru. One must approach guru. The word compulsory is used. Bona fide spiritual master of guru. And what is the compulsory means? You must approach your guru. Why? Because anamana pratyaksha. Without the guru, then all you can do is base your knowledge on what you see and what you can theorize. Which that, of course, as we said, that will limit you because of the limitations of your mind and senses. So, why does it say it's compulsory? One must accept it. Tadvik jnanartham saguru eva abhigaschet. One must approach a guru. So the reason is obvious. What is the qualification of a spiritual master? He is one who has rightly heard the Vedic message from the right source, and he must practically be firmly established in Brahman. So these are the two qualities he must have. So you find someone who's heard, and you find someone who's living what they heard. They practice what they heard, and that's a guru. And that's why Prabhupada said, you all become gurus. Like from the day you become a devotee, now you become guru. Guru means teacher, and you teach whatever you've heard, you repeat it, and you practice it in your guru. And now you can do so much benefit for those who haven't heard, because they cannot understand what you understand. Just like you go out of book distribution, right? You go to a mall, you show Bhagavad Gita, and everyone says, I have it. I have the Bhagavad Gita. Right? It's common. And when devotees tell me that they go to book distribution and people say they have Bhagavad Gita, the first thought that comes to my mind is, well, when I look at you and look at your lifestyle, it doesn't look like you've read the Bhagavad Gita. I say, no, I've read the Bhagavad Gita. Well, it doesn't look like it. You're carrying your Gucci bag and your Nike bag and all these things you're purchasing that you have absolutely no need for except to show off to your friends and neighbors. It doesn't look like you've read Bhagavad Gita. So one who, they may know what's in it, but you also have to live it to be a guru. So you can all become gurus. And I think we should all feel the fact that we're fortunate to have heard and fortunate to be able to practice, because then we get the qualification to give it to others. And you might think, well, I can't really help others, but that's not true. You can really help others. Just like if I give you, okay, now we have the coronavirus, and last night I mixed up a serum that's going to cure it. The demigods revealed it to me last night when I was sleeping, and this morning I made it. Little tulsi, little cow dung, little cow urine and ghee, a few spices. There it is. And I'm drying all the pills out that I made, and I'm going to give it to you tomorrow. And none of you are doctors, and all the doctors are saying, no cure for coronavirus. It's going to take a year. And say, no, the demigods channeled, and here it's perfect. It's come from another source. And let's say, for the sake of this story, it actually works. You're not doctors. You're not nurses. You're nothing. You're software engineers, or you're accountants, or you're students, or you're housewives. But I give this to you, and I say, this is the prescription. Tell them to take one in the morning, one in the evening. In 3 days, they'll be cured. And you go out and do that. And any of you had the virus, you took it, it worked. So that's all. It's like that. You become a professor of the transcendental science of Krishna consciousness because you've heard. And the one thing that Prabhupada said about this, he said, you can go on year after year after year trying to understand, or you can just hear. And you don't have to do any experimentation. You save time. I want to try to understand. There'll be a muni, jnani, and speculate. Yeah, you can do that. Bahunam janmanam ante. You can do that for many lifetimes. Or you can hear from the right source. That's the idea. Qualifications of bona fide guru. Tadvijnanatam saguru evavidas. Samipani shrotyam brahmanishnam. So he's heard, and he's situated in Brahman. So let's go back to that verse, because it's not translated. That was the verse from Prabhupada saying it's compulsory. He's heard. Samit Pani, he's a servant of his guru, carries wood in the hand, it's the seva to the guru. Simple service, go collect firewood. He's situated, Brahma, Nishtam. And evabhigachya. He must. Okay. Now, for the sake of, I don't know why Atul Krishna, this is his PowerPoint, I don't know why he put this here, but he wants to show I guess he wants to show that in ISKCON you have many authorities before the Guru. The Guru hasn't even shown up yet, has he? Well, Prabhupada is. The Parama Guru has. But then under Prabhupada there's the GBC, Sannyas Ministry, Guru Service Ministry, Sannyasis, regional ministers, and Guru on the third level. So there are many authorities. And when he refers to Guru, I think he's referring to Diksha Guru. So we have many authorities, Siksha Gurus. Yeah, temple presidents also, Bhakti Vriksha leaders, non-Bhakti leaders like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself wanted our cooperation. He is God, Krishna, and therefore cooperation is very important. Nobody should think that I have got so great ability I can do. No, it is simply by cooperation we can do very big things. United we stand, divided we fall. This is so be strong in pushing on Krishna consciousness, and Krishna will help. He is the strongest. He is the strongest. Still, we must be combined together. I'm not sure why he put that, but I can talk about it. I don't understand the sequence of why he put this. But anyway, this statement was even made by Prabhupada himself, that I couldn't do anything without your cooperation. So I think one aspect we can say it's meant to make us realize how we depend not on transcendental knowledge, and we depend on one another's help combinedly. We work together. No one should think, oh, I've heard, I'm great, I'm the next Jagat Guru. It's time for the 4 defects. And this example is often given by Prabhupada of the limitations of human beings which prevent us from having perfect knowledge. As I said, we have some knowledge, it's just perfect knowledge is not something we can achieve. So what are the 4 defects? First defect. These are defects we all have, whether you want to admit it or not. The first defect is we commit mistakes, and if you don't think you commit mistakes, that would be a mistake. That would confirm, so you can't get around it. Either admit that you make mistakes, or say you don't make mistakes, which would be a mistake, which would prove that you make mistakes. The 4 defects are meant to show that we're not perfect, and therefore we can't acquire perfect knowledge. So, we commit mistakes. We're illusion. Illusion means what? We think we're the body. That's a big illusion, right? Lord Brahma, do you know that at the time of creation, Lord Brahma created self-deception? He created illusions. Because the nature of this world is such that if you're not in some degree of illusion, you would go completely crazy. Because you would just be thinking, there's death, there's misery, the body is just, just bones and flesh and blood and other elements. It's not attractive. Everything is decaying. You wouldn't be able to live in the world. So Lord Brahma creates illusion. I'm the body, I can be happy, we forget that things are temporary. We believe things will be enjoyable that aren't enjoyable. We get a little enjoyment, not so much, not all the time. And that way, it creates an illusion which gives us a sense of being satisfied and happy in a situation that, if we saw the reality, would probably drive us into the mental hospital. Of course, if you see the reality as a devotee, it wouldn't drive you crazy, it would inspire you. But if you weren't a devotee and you saw the reality, you wouldn't be able to cope with it. You need sufficient illusion to cope with it. I mean, what if you woke up this morning and your first thought was, I could die in the next minute? How could you function? Well, why go to work? Because I could die. he woke up and thinking, my wife is just a bag of bones and blood and stool. I have no attraction. Why should I even care about her? And my kids are just bags of bones and stool, which also could die today. Why should I care? Why should I go to work? Why should I do anything? Yeah, so the sadhu has that, and he just meditates. Yeah, he doesn't do anything. That knowledge helps him. But for the ordinary materialistic person, he couldn't function in his material life well unless there was sufficient illusion. So illusion is built in, right? And you know the example, that's going back to mistakes, the example Prabhupada gives of Gandhi. Gandhi was told, be careful. And he went out and he was shot. And so, you know, Gandhi is considered such a great person, so Prabhupada used him as an example, but even such a great person makes mistakes. So what to speak of ordinary people. So, have you ever made a mistake? Well, raise your hand if you've never made a mistake. Never. You know the joke? You know the joke is like, I only made one mistake in my life, and that was that I thought I made a mistake, but actually I never made a mistake, and that was the only mistake I ever made. We make mistakes all the time. It's what Prabhupada's pointing out here, and the Vedas are pointing out, is that it takes a very proud person to think they can understand absolute knowledge without the guidance of superiors who are transcendental because of these illusions. Okay, the next illusion is cheating propensity. Now, you might say, I'm an honest person, I don't cheat. What does Prabhupada mean? Well, if someone comes up to you and says, can you tell me how to get to such and such a place? And you go, well, I think if you go here and then you turn right, it's somewhere over there. That's what Prabhupada calls cheating. You don't exactly know how to get there, and you're telling somebody. So any professor who is teaching something which is not absolutely true is not provably true, in a sense could be called a cheater. Well, we don't actually know, this is what we believe now. And the Prabhupada say, why are you teaching it if you don't know? That's cheating. Well, this is the best we have right now. No, that's cheating. So when we think of the cheating propensity, it doesn't just mean being dishonest. It's a different kind of dishonesty. Well, this is what we know, so this is what I'll teach you. Well, I know it's over there, it's kind of that direction, that's the best I can do. Something like that. But that's not good enough to get me to where I want to go. General direction. So we have some ideas like this. We have some theories, it could be like that, and we're discussing it, and we have a conference, and we're going to talk about it. That's what Prabhupada calls cheat. That's the natural propensity to cheat, is to teach something that you don't know is absolutely true, and teach it as absolutely true. No, if you don't know, it's honest to say, I don't know, or this is a theory, we don't know. Okay, that's at least somewhat honest. When Prabhupada met a professor was a Hindu professor, and he asked the professor, so can you tell me what is Hinduism? And the professor said, well, that's difficult to answer. So Prabhupada turned to Sri Damodar Maharaj and said, Sri Damodar Maharaj, he is a professor of Hinduism, and he says he can't really tell you what is Hinduism. What does that mean, Sri Damodar? Sri Prabhupada, it means he's a cheater. And Prabhupada turned to the professor. You a cheater. What do you have to say for yourself? So, sometimes when Prabhupada would preach to people, it wasn't even necessarily for their benefit, it was for our benefit. And so he made that point. This is what the definition of cheating. You have a position of a professor of Hinduism, and you don't even know what Hinduism is exactly. That's cheating. In a nice way, Prabhupada called him out. In perfect senses. So, sometimes they'll put something on the internet, an image and you'll look at it and it looks one way, and then they'll show you actually it's not that way. There's something in the front and something in the back, and what in front is actually looks huge, but it's actually smaller than what's in the back. It's optical illusion, the way the eyes and the brain work. So it's obvious. Mirage in the desert, these examples in perfect senses. So, I guess you need to know this for your test, right? Yes? I think so. So you have these four? Well, let's go back. Let's test you. What were the three evidences, the three forms of knowledge? What you see, what you speculate, and what you hear. So all you have to do is just go like this for the test. Just put your hand there and remember that. And so, wow, look at this. The four defects. CI. Commit mistakes, illusion, cheating, propensity, and imperfection. All you have to remember is CI. Cheating, illusion. No, commit mistakes, illusion, cheating, and imperfection. So these you should know. Okay? And these are the Sanskrit words. Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, Karana, Atava. You're going to be tested on that. Now these next slides are illusions, but I don't understand the illusions. So you're going to have to help me. Because it wasn't explained. These are visual illusions. What are you seeing? Looks like you're seeing a woman, right? But it can't be a woman, it has to be something else. You see anything else?
There is a small girl and an old lady.
Who sees the small girl and the old lady? Crow. You see a crow? The thing is, I don't have any notes to find out what you were supposed to see, but usually with these slides, in the next slide they show you what you're supposed to see. Where?
She's holding posing her
big nose and lower jaw opening. The beak of crow is her mouth.
The beak is what?
That is her, that old lady's mouth.
Oh. Okay. Whatever you say. And what's this? You know what they are?
Yeah.
Segments appear.
Tell us.
It's a square, perfect square, but it doesn't look when the circles are there. Next thing is
Say that again. It's a
perfect square, but it doesn't look like perfect one.
It's a perfect square, but it doesn't look perfect because it's inside a circle.
The segments appear bent. Sides of the square appear bent.
The sides of the square appear bent, but they're not. The circle gives that. Okay. Now you're going to tell me these lines are all parallel. Is that right? Is that true or what? No? Yes? Is it true? You know?
Yes.
They're all parallel?
The one that the cross lines are parallel, but it makes little different, and there are other. They don't appear parallel, but they actually are. You're all an illusion. And what about this one?
looks like it's spinning around?
Yes.
But it's not spinning, it just looks like it, right? And I don't know what this one is for. Do you know? Why is that picture there?
Committing mistakes.
Oh. I never made that mistake. Conclusion. With all these deficiencies, we cannot give perfect knowledge to anyone, nor are we ourselves perfect. Therefore, we accept the Vedas as they are. So, that is the basic message. I just want to, I have some notes. I want to tell a story. There was a Mayavad in America, in Los Angeles, and he wanted to become a devotee. And so I was in the temple at that time when he moved in. And Prabhupada would not let him preach. And Prabhupada said, first you have to read all my books. So, in other words, it's like a stain. You're contaminated with this Mayavad impersonal conception, and I won't let you go out and share Krishna consciousness because you will probably share impersonal ideas. You have to read all my books. So this Isopanisad is clearing up the impersonal, or it's showing the position of impersonalism as not the absolute position. Right? So it serves that function. As I was saying earlier, the Upanishads are the philosophical sections of the Vedas, and the Vedas mostly are karma kanda. They're just helping people improve materially. But you have these sages, the sadhus, the forest dwellers, the yogis, and they're not interested in improving their material position, so they need something else, and therefore the Upanishads are the philosophy. And a lot of the philosophy is impersonal. And we'll learn more about this later, because Krishna is not material, so he has no physical form. So sometimes that idea that he has no physical form then becomes an impersonal idea, that he has no form. So, yeah. Now, one point we haven't discussed. Is, I think it's obvious that when we say the Vedas are authority, that requires some faith, right? So someone might say, well, okay, that's your faith, you believe it. And this was discussed with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, well, you have faith in what's written in the newspaper, right? Everything we know today, what's the date today? March 13th? Friday the 13th? Oh my God. I have to chant extra rounds today. Friday the 13th, not auspicious. So, everything we know about the coronavirus, for example, is now, this virus is going rampant in some parts of the world. Everything we know about it is what we've read from the World Health Organization, or in America, from the Center for Disease Control, from the United Nations, right? They're the authority, and people naturally accept, isn't it? Everything we know about the origin of the universe, the origin of species, is what we learn in school from the authorities. And what you learn in school in your generation is different than my generation, different than my parents' generation, different than their parents' generation. So Prabhupada was explaining this, saying that it's all a question of which authority. It's not a question of authority. It's just which authority you're going to listen to. Because someone says, well, I don't believe in the newspaper. I don't believe in any authority. And we say, yes, you do. You believe in the authority of your own perception, of your own mind and sense perception. Make it lower and I'll bring it closer. And I'll talk louder. Can't hear me in the back? Can you hear? Yes? Can the neighbors hear class? You like the class? So, we can never say there's no authority, because even if you deny any authority, then you are the authority. You are the one who will make the final decision about what is true. So authority is there. You may feel more comfortable being your own authority, but authority is there. That's the point. So then Prabhupada gives the example that cow dung is antiseptic. You know, if you smell cow dung, it has dry cow dung has no odor, has nothing. It just smells like air. Did you know that? You ever pick up dry cow dung and smell it? There's nothing. And the Vedas say it's antiseptic. The Vedas say conch shell is pure. Conch shell is bone. Bones are impure. So Prabhupada says these things are accepted. And if you study, you'll see cow dung has so many benefits, antiseptic, this and that. So these are examples that Prabhupada gives. But I just wanted to make the point that authority will be there, even if it's your own authority. And so, then the question comes, well, who's a better authority? The newspaper or Vyasadeva? You or Vyasadeva? So you say, I accept my own authority. I make my own decisions. Okay, so then you're putting yourself against the authority of Vyasadeva, and you feel that you're a better authority. All right, whatever. Then you'll have to live with that decision and enjoy or suffer the consequences of your decision. And we will also enjoy or suffer the consequences of our decision to put our faith in Vyasadeva and the Vedas. That's the basic difference. But faith is a function, Shraddha Maya, Krishna says in Gita. The living entity is full of faith. Faith is a function, a psychological function. It can't be, it's not that no one has it. Only religious people have faith. Scientific people don't have faith. It's not true. Scientific people have faith that religious people are wrong. Scientific people have faith in their own ideas. And why do we say faith? Because scientific people have faith in theories which are not yet provable, entirely provable. And if you have a theory about the origin of the universe, and you weren't there, you never saw it, you weren't there, you weren't around at the time, that's the theory, right? And that requires some faith to accept. You know, my professor is telling me at the beginning of creation, it was like this. And they're giving their theories, right? Whatever their theories. Unlimited, what do they say? Unlimited energy and infinite and finite mass. And there's an explosion. And then single cell amoeba, and then it evolves and like that. Okay, so that's their theory, but they weren't there and they have not been able to demonstrate that they can't replicate it. So it's a theory. And so people believe in it. Right? So if that's what you want to believe in, then at least admit that's where your faith exists, that you all have faith. So that's the idea. Yes. And so the last thing I want to say, and then we can have some questions. The word Veda, what does the word Veda mean? It comes from the word knowledge, from the word vid, to know. So the concept, the idea is that whatever knowledge is available to you in society, it exists somewhere in the Vedas. It's aparashaya. It is not knowledge which is going up, it's knowledge which is coming down. Speculation is going up, we're trying to understand. This is coming down. We have faith, and therefore we are studying Isopanisad. So we're ready for the first shloka, but if you have any questions, we can take them now. I think. We have a question? You have a microphone? Oh, we have Mrs. Prashna. Mrs. Prashna Avatar. Sri Prashna Avatar has a question. The incarnation of question. One else. First question is free. Every next question is 100 rupees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, we should have some amount of illusion is required to function. So then, devotees should pray for becoming free of illusion completely, or we should.
Yeah. So devotees are in a position to be able to function better when they get out of illusion. But materialistic people cannot function unless there is sufficient illusion. It's required. Because of what they want to achieve. You've come into the material world to enjoy. So, in order to enjoy, in order to be happy in this world, there has to be some degree of illusion that everything is nice. I'm going to live a long time, I'm going to be happy. Just like anything you want to do that you think will make you happy, you generally just create a kind of a picture, like how happy I'll be when I do this. So that's required. But for a devotee, they don't see it that way. For them, they're trying to detach. They're not trying to enjoy. So for them, seeing things as they are is necessary. That's how you become detached. But it's not depressing because it's bringing them closer to Krishna, so it makes them happy. Oh, I see this illusion. I see, like a young man, he said, I see through this illusion. I don't want to get married. Okay, that's fine. He remains brahmachari. That's good for him. He wants to be brahmachari. So that gyan helps him be detached. Or even if we're married, the gyan helps us not become too attached and helps us progress. So what is bad for the materialist is good for us. It helps us. We need it. But unless you're a devotee, you won't be able to handle it. It's just depressing. Like for example, sometimes when we're preaching, I don't know about in India, maybe this is also true here, we're saying that, you could die and you really can't be happy, etc., etc., and it's Kali Yuga, things are getting worse, and then people say, your message is so depressing. It's so negative. And they say that here in India also. It's in the West, that's often said. And I remember once, I gave a class, and I was talking about all negative things, how bad everything is, the future of Kali Yuga, what's going on in the world, how much lying, cheating, disease, etc. is going on. And so many realities of life. I don't remember exactly what I said, but the class was about reality. And the devotees were very happy at the end of the class. That was such a nice class, they're all smiling. And I was thinking, this is unusual from the materialistic point of view, that you would talk about something negative for an hour and everybody would say, that was so nice, I feel so good, I feel so happy, I'm so inspired. Isn't it? And you talk about something negative and everybody gets inspired. because that's helping them detach. Say, thank you for, destroying that illusion and helping me become, see reality and become more detached. So, isn't that interesting? But for the non-devotees, that is the most depressing, uninspiring thing I've heard. Why don't you people, be more positive? Of course, we say this is very positive. It's a positive message that you should positively be Krishna conscious and positively not be in Maya. So it was a very positive message. But they see it as a negative message that you're putting down material enjoyment. So if you want to enjoy, just like that shloka, if you want to be happy materially, don't go to the bank of the Jamuna, the Vamsi Bhatta, by Vamsi Bhatta, because you'll see Krishna. Once you see Krishna, you will lose interest in everything. So if you want to maintain your material life, don't go see Krishna because it will ruin it. So it's something like that. If you want to maintain your material life, do not see the reality of the material world, because if you do, you'll just get depressed. That's why they say your message is depressing. And that's why the devotees say your message is inspiring. Isn't that funny? That is so interesting. Anything else? Okay, so now we can go to the next lesson. We have an hour. It's easy. You know all these things anyway. Right? We're just preparing you for the test, basically. So we're going to, the next lesson, we have 1 hour to go over texts 1, 2, and 3. I just lost my mouse. Why did I lose my mouse? Is that part of the mode it's in?
No. Sometimes super sensitive that it gets lost.
What's that?
Sometimes super sensitive gets lost.
Oh. Don't go away. Verses 1.
What are the other one?
Lesson 2, invocation. Oh no, we don't even get, we're on invocation. I haven't got to lesson yet. Okay. Invocation. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Dachyate Purnasya Adhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Okay. Lesson 2. Invocation. There's the shloka. We'll put it on the board. Okay. This verse is not from the Isopanisad. You know where it's from? I don't know. I have to find that. Hold on. Let me see if I can find that. If I don't have a mouse, I can't use my computer. Hold on. Anyway, it's not. It's a Vedic invocation, but it's not from the Isopanisad. It's from another source in the Vedas. Anyway, we'll just go through the PowerPoint. Okay. Whoops. I can't even get to the PowerPoint now. Trouble in Paradise. So what do we do? Unplug the.
Watch it here.
Can project from there?
Yeah, somebody check. See that.
So I'm going to pull this out.
Yeah. Oh, no.
See what happens. Yeah, now I'm okay.
Okay. You can use this.
Who knows what Upanishad means? So,
You have the headlines of the Vedas.
the headlines of the Vedas, Upanishads. So, which one is this?
This is the introduction.
I didn't even do this, did I? Is this what we're on now? I should have done this before.
Yeah.
Okay, we have an introduction that I missed. Which one was I doing before that?
It's this one. So once you can link it. No, it's the invocation. Oh, the same. Introduction is still on the 5 minutes.
Oh, we have more slides in the introduction. Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to go back. We're still on the introduction, not on the invocation. I didn't realize there were more slides. So this is just a little bit of information about the Upanishads. And this is from Prabhupada. The Vedas mostly deal with furtive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. You know, you look at what Prabhupada did. He went straight from sense gratification to bhakti. Chant Hare Krishna. Nothing. Krishna's God, you're a servant. Chant Hare Krishna. Boom, boom, boom. Why could he do that? Well, that's the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And there was no cultural barrier. In India, it's a little more difficult because you know things already. So you have to kind of reteach you things that you may have learned wrongly. But there we didn't know anything.
This one, this.
Next one. Do I need to click it?
Only for this it was.
Yeah, so I'll click. Yeah, I'll click it. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the karma kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. Upa means near. Nishidati, bring closer. Closer to Krishna, closer to Guru. And then, or sit close. These are the first 10 Upanishads. Ishakena Kata Prashna Mandaka and Mandukya Taittiriya Aitareya Chandogya Brihat Aranyaka and Shrikashkata. Iso is said to be the most important, and here you can study this chart if you want to get some idea of the position of the Vedas. You can meditate on it for a few minutes. Are they going to get this slideshow?
Yeah.
Yes?
We can share it.
We can share this if you want. Those of you out there, they're not seeing the slideshow. How can they see it? What do they have to go through?
I can show you the same screen.
How?
Or I can send the Zoom link, they can join through Zoom.
We can send you a Zoom link. How do I send a message?
I'll send.
I'll send you a Zoom link if you want to see the slideshow. Okay. Prasthana Traya. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra is known as Nyaya Prasthana. The Upanishads are known as Shruti Prasthana. And the Gita, Mahabharata, and Puranas are known as Smriti Prasthana. So Vedanta is like Vyasadeva summarizing everything and putting it in its essence. Took the one Veda, divided it into four. Then, okay, I have to make it simple. It's Kali Yuga. Let's put in Vedanta, and then Bhagavatam is the commentary on Vedanta. So Shruti, Vedas are Shruti, which is heard. Smriti means remembered, and the Puranas, the subsidiary, what we call the fifth Veda, it's called that, which is remembered. It's expanding upon the original Vedas. Some people, they only believe in Shruti, the original Vedas, not Smriti. But Smriti is better because it's expanding on it. When you don't have to understand it on your own, you understand it through the other acharyas, sadhus, munis, and so forth. So it's better. The Mayavadi philosophers accept only the Nyaya Prasthana and Shruti Prasthana, rejecting the Smriti Prasthana. That's unfortunate for them. And you know the verse from Mahabharata. Of course, it's from Mahabharata, so they won't accept it. But Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Duhaya. Where does Dharma reside? Resides in the heart of the. And if you, how does that verse begin? Who remembers that verse? Shrutaya Vivina. Tarko Pratishta. Shrutaya Vivina. Tarko Pratishta. So you can argue Tarko Pratishta. There's so many things, so much speculation. But the realization of the sadhu, that's where real dharma resides, in his heart. And through their actions, you can understand dharma. Through their words and actions, just like the other day in class, someone was asking why Bali gave everything to Krishna, and then Krishna tied him up and tortured him, basically. That was to glorify Bali and to teach. Using Bali as an example, Krishna took everything away and he didn't complain. So, through the light, you see religion exists within the heart, both in the words and in the actions of the pure devotee. Prasthana Traya. Whenever there is argument on some point, one has to give reference from these Upanishads. If one can give reference from the Upanishads, then his argument is very strong. So, when Vedic philosophers or philosophers of India discuss philosophy, they must give reference from the Vedas. That's the idea. Any other reference that's not Vedic is not considered valuable. I guess that's it for that slideshow. Okay, any questions on that? That was the same slideshow. I just didn't realize there were more slides. So that's the introduction, I believe. Okay. So now we are going to go. I have to give me a second. Invocation. Yes. So we need Arunotaya. This is the Om Purnam Adaha Purnam Idam verse. We need him to bring up the PowerPoint, but he's disappeared. So until he comes back, I will read the PowerPoint. So who knows the translation to this invocation? Oh, what does Om mean? In this verse, Om means complete whole. Purna means complete. Adaha means that. The complete whole is complete. Everything that exists within creation exists within Krishna. And so, this idea that there's form in this world, but in Krishna, in the original, there's no form, is defeated, because if he's complete, then whatever exists here exists within him. Right? And then the idea is he can expand unlimitedly, and although he expands unlimitedly, he's still the same. That's interesting. Right? I give you all 1,000,000 rupees. I started with 1,000,000 rupees. I give you all 1,000,000 rupees, and I still have 1,000,000 rupees. That's the idea. That's the idea of Purnam. Om Purnam. You know that story? The poor boy who had to bring it was a feast in school, and everyone had to bring something to feed all the kids, and he was very poor, and his mother said, go see Krishna, he'll help you. And Krishna gave him a pot of yogurt, just a little pot. He said, how will this feed everyone? He said, you'll see. It was Purnam. So no matter how much yogurt it gave, it was always full. So that's the idea. Where is he? Where's our friend? All right, so I'll just read what's on the slides until he comes. This is from the book itself. If he were formless, or if he were less than his creation in any other way, he could not be complete. The complete whole must contain everything, both within and beyond our experience, otherwise he cannot be complete. So we're on the invocation. You need to bring it up there. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Right, so the point Prabhupada's making is anything you see in this world must exist within Krishna. Sometimes people say, he can't have a form because a form would limit him. Right? Have you heard that argument? And so they just limited him to not having a form. Right? Yes, he can't have a form because a form would limit him. If his form were material, it would limit him, but his form is not material. You can have a form, but God can't. Figure that out. He created the form, but he doesn't have a form. Figure that out. Doesn't make sense. So Om Purnam means whatever you see exists within him. Just like we like to have fun, we like to joke, right? So look at Krishna Leela, especially when he was growing up. And Gauranga Leela, the same thing. Joking, having fun. That's what they did. So where does that propensity come from? We have it, and God is the... I mean, we have that also, power and grandeur. we get that. But also he likes to joke and laugh. And that's why we like to joke and laugh. He can't have it if he doesn't have it. So how can he be impersonal and we be persons? That's the point of this verse. Okay? Purnamidam. Idam, this phenomenal world. All emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Purnat purnam udachyate. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is complete in itself. What happened? Whatever is produced of the complete whole. What's the last line? It's not here. It's perfect and complete. Everything's complete. All right. Some examples of the completeness of his creation, like the tree. Look at that. That's huge. What do you call that? We call it champaka. You have another name? Same? That's like huge, isn't it? And within each flower, there's seeds for another tree. And then that tree will grow, produce flowers within it. Yeah, so that's perfect. It's complete. So many examples. Purnamidam. Although the ocean's water, this is an example of Prabhupada's giving a perfect and complete. Although the ocean's water, so much. When there is scarcity of water, you have to take help of Krishna. He'll evaporate the water. He'll make it a cloud. Then when it falls down, it becomes sweet. Otherwise, you cannot touch. Everything is complete. So, the example of Krishna's completeness, this is one example that you have water in the ocean and the salt preserves. Salt is a preservative. So it doesn't stagnate, it doesn't become full of algae and so forth. It's water when it stagnates, or a breeding ground for mosquitoes. But we can't drink salty water. We can't use salty water. So Krishna evaporates the water without the salt. Okay? And then it doesn't do us much use if it just rains. Because then it's in the grass on the ground. What are you going to do with it? Unless you're capturing it. So it rains in a way that it forms in the rivers, which we can then, or it sinks to the water table, and we can utilize the water. So it's just an example of Krishna's intelligence. It's a good idea, right? Preserve water with salt, evaporate the salt, put it in a cloud, and then shower it down. Warm water. Yeah. Now we can drink the warm water. Thank you. Are there waterproof computers? Does anybody know? Has anyone invented a waterproof computer that you can take to the ocean and work in the ocean? You have to keep water away. You can keep that one here. It's fine. Okay. As soon as the child is, this is just examples of how Krishna is complete. As soon as a child is born, immediately there is profuse milk in the breast of the mother. That is the nature's arrangement. Before birth, the food The child immediately requires the mother's breast. There is milk supply immediately. You know, I once was thinking of all these arrangements that you find in nature. Like this is an example. And then asking people a question, who made that arrangement? Kind of interesting. When you see something that's a good idea, then you think, oh, I wonder who thought of that, isn't it? You ever see a product, and it's really an ingenious product, and it's a product that's really needed, and you think, that's a good idea. I wonder who thought of that. Or why didn't I think of that? Or I did think of that, but I never produced it. But you always will think, if it's a good idea, some smart person thought of it, right? Yes? Here's an example. Breastfeeding. The cloud and the water. Another example. Hey, that's a good idea. You get water, preserve it, get it, put it in the cloud, rain it down into rivers, into other forms where you can extract the water. That's a good idea. I wonder who thought of that. Breast milk. What a good idea. All the food the child needs for so many months. It's right there in the mother. I wonder who thought of that. Who created that? It's natural to think like that, isn't it? And the atheist will say, no, nobody thought of it. It's just an accident. It just evolved. And they get a Nobel Prize for that. Kali Yuga. We have to remember it's Kali Yuga. So the stupider you are, the more you'll be praised. The more degraded you are, the more you'll be praised. Isn't it? Isn't it? Bollywood is an example. The more degraded you are, the more people love you. Right? The more people you can kill and destroy on the screen, the more skin, if you're a woman, you can show, the more you'll be appreciated. So the more you become like an animal, the more you appreciate it. So also in the world of intellectualism, often the more stupid you are, the more you're honored. Isn't it? You're so stupid that you say everything happens by chance. Oh, give him a Nobel Prize. It's Kali Yuga. Yes?
They get perfect reasoning.
Yeah. They get perfect reasoning to come up with an idea that is totally unreasonable. Hare Krishna. This phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which? This phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of the universe. So, everything we need is here. And if you ever become proud, just try to understand that you couldn't even feel pride if you weren't supplied the 24 elements. Isn't that interesting? The ego, the pride you're feeling, it requires your body to function properly and your mind to function properly to even feel proud that you've done something. And if there weren't the 24 elements, you couldn't have done anything. You couldn't even think that you did anything. And you couldn't feel anything. So even your feeling of pride should humble you if you were smart. Isn't that interesting? Everything we need to live, everything we need to think, everything we need to do is supplied to us. We can't do anything without it. You can't even get up You go to the toilet. You couldn't even find your way to the toilet if Krishna didn't give you intelligence. You can't do anything. That's the idea. That's the completeness. No other unit in the universe need make an extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe. That's good news. Every morning when you wake up, you don't have to worry. Do I have to do anything to make sure the sun shines today? You don't have to. I have to do anything to make sure there's going to be rain and food. You don't have to. It's all provided. The human form of these are, I think, what he put here are excerpts from Prabhupada's writing in the Isopanisad. The human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of a living being, and it is obtained after evolving through 8,400,000 species in the cycle of birth and death. Purnasya Purnam Adhaya. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, Purnam Eva Vasishyate. He remains the complete balance. In the spiritual world, the one is Purna, and if you take the whole one, it is still one. That they cannot understand. The poor brain. They think materially. If the one is complete, and if one is taken away, then it becomes zero. What? It's okay. I'm fine. What kind of God is only zero? Upanishad says, Purnasyam Purnam Adhaya, Purnam Eva Vashishyate. If from the complete you take the complete remains. These are different quotes from Prabhupada in different places. Purnam eva vashishyate. Krishna is so full that even Krishna expands 1,000,000 times. Still, he's the same Krishna. The same thing, Krishna. Just like here, something being offered to Krishna, to God. He will eat it, but he will leave everything for you as prasadam. How? Purnasya Purnam Adhaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. This is God's power. He will eat everything, but he will keep everything for you as prasadam. How can he do that? You know the saying, I just eat seafood? You know that? Seafood? That means somebody offers you something, you look at it and say, I've seen it. Seafood. So Krishna eats seafood. He eats with his eyes. How can he do that? He can eat with his eyes. How can he eat with his eyes? How can he taste with his eyes? Can you taste with your eyes? Well, a little bit. It looks good. He can eat with his eyes, and therefore it remains. Everybody's trying to, look at God like he's like us. So you put the limitations that we have. I was in Amsterdam a few months ago, and near where I was staying, I would take a walk. There was a big church, beautiful church. And in the church they had one or two pictures of God. And I don't know if you know this, but in the Christian religion, they portray God as a man who might look like 90 to 100 years old. They picture him with long hair, gray beard, gray hair. So it's material idea. Right? So how unfortunate they are to see God materially. We make efforts to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. Illusory representation of completeness cannot fully satisfy us. Yeah. You want to reflect on what's incomplete in your life? We might get very depressed by reflecting on this. There's so much incompleteness. And let's go to the next slide. Let's see what's there. How can the invocation of Sri Isopanisad help us make our lives complete? Who wants to answer that question? I think it's obvious. Everything is in Krishna. Everything you could ever want is in Krishna. And Maya is a reflection. And so Maya is an illusion of everything. It's not really there. It just seems like it's there. Have you ever got something you always wanted to later realize it's not what you always wanted? Did that ever happen to you? Are you still awake? Raise your hand if you're awake. Kali, this class is too long. 2 hours is too long for philosophy. You need to take a break for prasadam or something. So the nature of Maya is that it appears to be something that it isn't. So when you imagine how you're going to enjoy Maya, it never is the way you have imagined it. There's always something less, self-illusion. Isn't it? It's going to be like this. It's never like that. It's always less than that. It's not what you think. Okay? You go shopping. Do you know what they found? That shopping makes you more depressed. You're happier not going to the mall and spending your money. When you go in and spend your money, you end up being more depressed. When you think, I will get this, it'll make me happy, it doesn't. You become more depressed. That's the latest findings. Shopping makes you depressed. And then they found out that depressed people go shopping to relieve their retail therapy, to relieve their depression, but it doesn't work. It just makes them more depressed. So you think you're getting something, but the illusion is there. You're not getting it. Now, you look at the spiritual. When we're looking at the spiritual, sometimes we think, it's austere, it's difficult, I have to sacrifice, I have to get up early, I have to do so many things. But you always get more bliss, more satisfaction than you could imagine ever getting. So that's the nature of the spiritual. So, how Krishna consciousness makes our life complete is there is no possible completeness outside of Krishna consciousness. Because you're only dealing with something that's not real. Maya, reflection. Right? Just like we serve prasadam, I sit you down and I create a certain light. So in front of you is a shadow of a plate of prasadam. Enjoy this. You're looking at it, you're thinking I'm crazy. No, I think you're crazy because your whole life is you're trying to enjoy a shadow of reality. So, Hare Krishna. Just like a big machine, and there is a small screw. The completeness of that small screw is to fit in the particular place. Then it has got value. And if it is out of touch of the machine, it has no value. So we are complete units so long we are attached to Krishna. Otherwise, useless. Hare Krishna. So, one devotee went to Prabhupada and said, I feel useless. Prabhupada said, everyone is useful for something in Krishna's service. And no one should feel useless unless you're not a devotee. You're not a devotee then. Yeah. It would be good if you feel useless. But if you're a devotee, you should not feel useless. So, we are complete units. So long we are attached to Krishna, otherwise useless. Prabhupada was teaching Isopanisad in Los Angeles. This is a lecture from 1970 in Los Angeles. He was teaching this. Preaching applications and objectives. The Prince effectively presented. Did we present the principle of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on the basis of the statement Om Purnamadaha? This is what we were supposed to have done. The nature of the spiritual potencies of the Supreme Person with reference to Purnam Bhavashishate, Krishna's Shakti. This means Krishna's Shaktis. Parasya Shakti Vividai Vishuyate. What does Prabhupada say? When you're wealthy, what do you do when you're wealthy?